been working since 7 in the morning. Been picking up a group of students from various schools. So myself and a senior colleague, we did 2 trips each. We did 2 trips each. One of them is picking them from the various places. So this is one of the factors I would want you to look at. As a bus driver, you need to make use of as much space as you can. If there is, make good use of it, because you need a lot of space. You're not like the truck where once the head is gone, the body will follow. No, the bus is different. You always have to create that L stuff, so you go straight and then you turn, you know, that L kind of movement. You always have to do that. It helps you not just to take the curve excellently and to avoid hitting other cars in front of you, but to also observe who is coming from behind you. That is very, very important as a bus driver. You know, taking the right curves or the right turns. That is the most dangerous turns, which mostly causes havoc for bus drivers. The left you can see so clearly, and your blind spot is not so on the blind side of you. But with the right, it's crazy. With the right, it's crazy. Yeah. So whilst we drive on, you know, just be sharing some of the experiences, and I would also use it as an opportunity to share some tips to students who are preparing for their exams and want to pass their exams. And most of these tips will just come off as and when the situation demands it. So when I see something and I feel, okay, I need to show you this, or along the way, if I have to do a maneuver and I realize this is something I need to draw your attention to, then I do it. Other than that, we have a nice conversation as we drive on. So like I was saying, I started work around 7, and myself, my senior colleague, and 2 others, we all did different assignments, but the other 2 did just 1 trip in and out from the school to the theater, and from the theater back to the school, and they were done. But myself and my senior colleague, who were on the assignment B, we did 2 different schools. So we did the first school, and from there we took them to the theater. We parked there for about 15 minutes, and then we proceeded on to the next school, because we had to pick the other students from the next school at 10 a.m. so we had to proceed on to the next school. So we came here, we came to pick them up, we took them to the theater, and upon arrival, the first group, which is group A, was done with the movie watch, and we quickly had to pick them up. So yeah, another present thing that I want you to take notice of, this is the roundabout. For the roundabout, you slow down as much as possible. If there's somebody already in the roundabout, just wait. You are long, and so you need more space to maneuver. Just wait. Once it's free, you move straight, just like with the L motion, and then you create as much space as you can, looking into the mirrors. And then where you want to turn to, you show your indicator, then you slow down before you take the turn, because most of the time you would have a pedestrian crossing right in front of the exit of every runabout. When you're getting close to the runabout, slow down as much as possible. Humans are more important than whatever trip you have to make, and for a bus driver, time is not your problem. You have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of money, you know, so time is not your problem. Imagine you're in traffic 2 hours. What does that got to do with the arrival time? It delays your arrival time, but it doesn't matter. It's nothing you can control. Always remember, right? Take this from me, that human beings are irreplaceable. You can't get their spare parts like you get with a car or anything. And so when you're approaching places where there are pedestrians, there are human beings, you take good precaution. So let's look at this curve. For instance, this is a right turn. Proceed on. So you noticed I proceeded on when the front of the vehicle aligned with the line, the demarcation line in front of me. Then I made a turn. Or when you get to the front of the other vehicle, which in this case, if you're doing a measurement, the measurement should be from the front of your vehicle to your first axle or your front axle, so your first tire. So you notice that there's this gap between the front tire and the front of the vehicle, and we as the drivers, we are sitting directly in front of the front tire or the front axle. And so you take that distance, calculate that distance, have that imaginary imagery in your head that from the front to the first axle is where you should head to before you make your turn. Once you have that, you're going to execute the turn nicely, and your driver instructor is going to say, oh wow, you've done it well. And there's no need for you to go back again, reverse back, and then re-correct yourself, or the other vehicle in front of you to go a little bit backwards. There's no need for that if you practice this maneuver I just did. So essentially, these are for the right turns where you have like 3 slots. So 2, 1, somebody turning the same direction you are coming from, and somebody going straight. Then you do that. If not, and it's just 2 lanes, like just what I have, what I'm playing on now, and then the other, like someone is coming, then what you do is you equally create the same space, but this time around you make sure you don't obstruct the other vehicle coming from the other lane. So whoever is coming from that single lane to join the junction, and you are turning towards the junction to your right, you don't obstruct that person. Allow the person to come, signal the one coming after him or her that you want to make the turn. And so by signaling, you signal with your traffic indicator, and you let the person know you're coming, and then you move ahead and create that distance that I did. No, that imaginary distance from the front of a vehicle to the front axle. You create that imaginary distance, or better still, you move like you want to enter into the junction, but you go straight following the L procedure, and then once you're there, you can see that you've covered your own lane from the door mirror, or the door window, sorry. You notice you've covered your own lane from the door window like this. Then you begin to initiate the turn. and then mind you, if you initiate a turn, whatever it is, you still go into the other lane, and so keep that into consideration. That is why you don't need to obstruct the other traffic that is coming. If the vehicle oncoming is a bit far from you, let's say about 50-70 meters away from you, then you take the turn and he would wait for you. But one thing I mostly find out is people don't really understand communication when it comes to road. People don't really understand it. This is something I've noticed. They fail to understand, or they fail to realize that the two of you on the road, you and then the person in question, are all communicating with the vehicles. And so if I'm taking a turn, logically the oncoming traffic should understand that, okay, fine, you are a bigger vehicle, you are lengthy, and so I should give you that space about 50 meters from the junction so you can easily maneuver and then compromise and make the turn. They don't understand this. They notice you've shown your indicator, you're trying to push in to do the turn, and they're still closing in on that. I never understand. It's something that baffles my mind till now. No. So sometimes you have to force your way through it, you know, sometimes, but ideally you just don't obstruct anybody. You'd get what I'm trying to say when you fully get on the road and you are practicing every day. You'd understand where I'm coming from. It's like that. It's just like that. For trucks can easily maneuver. Once the head or the tractor unit is gone, the trailer will just follow the same direction the tractor unit went. So trucks, it's more easier to compromise than with buses. With buses, you have to always create an extra space. Even with overtaking, once you overtake, you still need to create an extra space before you rejoin the line again. You know, so it's something that people need to understand. And I feel in the various driving schools, these basic things needs to be taught. Because there are times where you enter into a junction, you've done about 70% of the whole deal, and then somebody is still closing up on you. Now, how do you correct yourself to straighten up and join your own lane? How do you do that? No, it happens like that. I'll just stand there, I'll block the road and be there, because this is common sense. You should know this. It's just application of common sense. You don't need any driving school to tell you, okay, the person maneuvering or the other vehicle maneuvering is bigger than me and it's lengthier than I am, and so I'll slow down a bit for him or her, give that person that 50 to 70 meters distance so him or her can compromise and then rejoin his or her lane. I find it very, you know, very sad on the part of people who drive smaller vehicles, not being able to understand this. This is simple, you know, not being able to understand this. So anytime I'm with my smaller vehicle, I'm always trying to give that space to bus drivers. You know, sometimes not even bus drivers alone, I do it with truck drivers also, because you need to always think ahead, anticipate what is going to happen in the next 200 to 400 meters ahead of you. You always have to anticipate and then figure what's going to happen. You're in the traffic, you're going, you always have to be on the lookout, looking every time, left, right, always be monitoring. What I do when I'm driving is my eyes are always here, except when I'm taking sharp turns on the main road. I mean, I'm still on the, let's assume I'm on this road now, and there's a curve, I have to take a curve, and then, you know, then I'm looking here so I don't skid off the white line. These two lines are imaginary guidelines that are guiding you. My vehicle is like 2.5 meters wide, and these lines I assume are about 3 meters wide, and so you should always be, so I'm always looking at this. And then the main reason why I look into this mirror, the mirror on my left, is to tell who is behind me and how they are behaving. As a bus driver, that should be one of your topmost priorities. Who is behind you and how they are behaving. That determines whether you're going to stop for somebody to cross the road. That determines your braking distance. That determines how you're going to have your emergency braking. That determines how you're going to use your retarder. People directly behind you determines how your braking is going to be. Because imagine someone is directly behind me and the person has just 30 meters distance, and the person is just 30 meters away from my vehicle, and we are speeding on the same speed. We all speeding, we're doing about 80 kilometers per hour, and this person is 30 meters away from me. If I commit any sudden stops, this person is directly going to bump into me. You know, so I'm always on the watch for whoever is directly behind me, and I'm trying to play safe on that. So as a bus driver, I would always recommend your mirrors should be your topmost priority. When somebody is behind you, always keep a close eye on this person. Always keep a close eye on this person. Again, when you're approaching junctions, most importantly is for you to keep an eye on your right mirror. That right mirror you see there, that's the magic. So you're closing in on the junction you want to turn. You show your indicator 70 to 100 meters away. That is on a normal town street, where not on the highway. On the highway we do about 180 to 240. That is my personal stuff. I do about 180 to 240 meters away. I show my indicator, and then whoever is behind me knows within that time I can slow down anytime to a considerable speed until I'm exiting. But when I'm within the city and I have to turn, I show my indicator 70 to 100 meters away, and I begin to slow down, looking at this for pedestrians, for cyclists, for motorists who are using their foot pedal and then the cycle pathway. You look at this from a distance, you can tell whether it is okay for you to make your turn immediately, or then you have to wait. So when you're approaching junctions, keep your eye on this. But for you as a beginner who is still trying to learn the habit of keeping your mirrors or looking into your mirrors every time, what you do is you try as much as possible to observe every single time. You look forward, you look into your left mirror, you look into your right mirror, you look forward. You look forward, you look into your left mirror, you look into your right mirror, you look forward. Just repeat this process every single time. You shouldn't put any timelines on it. This is just observation. When you're looking forward, you look into your left, you look into your right, you're good to go. You look forward, you look into your left, you look into your right. It just creates that awareness. It builds that awareness in you. And so with time, your mind gets used to the fact that occasionally I have to look into my mirrors. It's a subconscious thing, but it really works. So for you to impress your driver instructor or your examiner, what you do is you look forward, you look in your left, you look in your right, you look forward. You look in your left, you look in your right, you look forward. Just do this repeatedly, occasionally throughout the whole driving section, the whole 45 minutes or the whole 1 hour 15 minutes that you're doing your practical test. And trust me, observation will be A1 for you. observation would be A1 for you. So we've spoken about 2 or 3 main things that you need to do with what you need to look out for in your left mirror, what you need to look out for in your right mirror, and I've told you my personal experiences with when I show my indicators when I'm about to exit either the highway or I'm about to exit any of the normal streets in the cities into a junction. Now I'll come to the use of the retarder. So the retarder is a helping tool which helps you to maximize efficiency with your braking system. So if you use your retarder properly, you don't necessarily have to even apply your brakes. In this case, I'll show you a good example of that when I'm about exiting the highway. It slows you down gradually, and I always say that you don't need to draw all the 5 steps together, pull all the 5 levers together to give you maximum efficiency, except when there is a need to, except when the situation demands you stopping at once. Then you can do that, and then you apply your brakes as well to stop the vehicle as soon as possible. But apart from that, there's no need for you to draw all the 5. What I mostly do is I'm always on the lookout for what is ahead of me, and I'm always thinking the unimaginable, that the next person in front of me or the person in front of the person in front of me can pull any sudden stops, or anything at all can happen. And so if it happens, how should I slow down? And so that determines my distance between the vehicle in front of me and myself. I mostly keep a reasonable amount of distance, mostly. And even with my overtakings, I overtake within a reasonable maximum amount of distance. So I'm usually overtaking between 60 meters away to 70 meters away. That is my overtaking distance. The moment you do that, the passengers in the vehicle have confidence in you. They notice you don't get too close to the vehicle in front of you before you try to overtake. They have that confidence, and when you do that, in case there's anything else, you can easily avoid it. These are very important points I want you to take note of. And with your driving practicals, when you are driving and then there's a need for an emergency braking, don't dream of using the retarder. Just apply the brakes to stop the vehicle. Don't use the retarder, apply the brakes. So ideally with the driving practicals, when you're doing it with the driving school, what they expect you to do is, if you're within the city where you're doing your 50 kilometers per hour, don't even use a retarder. There's no need for it. But the moment you go out of the city, you're doing anything above 50, so 70s to 100 kilometers per hour, which of course buses are allowed to drive only 100, then you use your retarder in the case of a braking.